So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true.
Well, there you have it. Welcome, everyone who is joining us for the premiere edition of the Traffic Report with the renowned Pizzagate Howie and the heroic JT the fireman. Hey, guys.
Good evening.
How are you?
Well, I'm excited to be starting this with you all. It's a daunting prospect, but an important mission to get this red pill, as it's being referred to, taken by more of us.
Absolutely.
Well, let me just say, I am, and I'm sure Howie is. We're glad to hear your velvet voice introducing us. And
yes, we had a few minor issues getting this started the first time, but Elle changed her headset and everything is good to go.
Right, that was the missing piece. We can all relax. It's going to be smooth sailing from now on.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Yeah.
John, what doesn't John tell us, since he's the senior member? Why doesn't he tell us a little bit about his background?
Does that mean I'm old?
Not age, just experience.
It means that you woke up and you've been waiting for the rest of us to do the same.
Right.
I'm okay with being old, but not quite yet. But I'm getting there. Well, I guess, how did I get here? I don't think we have enough time for that one. Suffice it to say, probably shortly after 9/11 happened, I started a journey of research, and through that period of time, became aware of child trafficking, and it's been thousands and thousands of hours of research that I've done. And after you're exposed to this, and I know we've talked about this before, you're morally obligated to do something about it, and I've been trying to do that ever since. And that's why we're doing this, to raise awareness of child trafficking and to eradicate it. So that's how I got here.
Howie, I think it's probably a good moment to ask you, since to anyone who's been following this evolution of, let's say, the dawning of a greater consciousness of this cancer at the heart of our world, you've become an iconic figure. I mean, anyone who's hearing the name Pizzagate Howie, who's been paying any attention since November, knows exactly how you stand up for what you know to be true and put your body and your face directly in front of all of this. Can you talk about how you came to that point?
Well, sure. I'm actually not Pizzagate Howie anymore. On Twitter, I'm known as PG Howie1. Unfortunately, my accounts get suspended pretty much every 2 months on, like clockwork. So, but, I still wear I'm proud of the moniker Pizzagate Howie. During the election, I started holding signs actually at a major intersection. I'm from Philadelphia. So, I basically, watching the news every night, I wasn't able to, I just felt, while I knew they were lying and I wanted to get a message out. And basically I started holding a Hillary for Prison sign at an intersection pretty close to my house. And from that, after the election, I didn't know what I was going to do. And, obviously the Podesta emails came out talking about the Pizzagate. And I met somebody on Twitter who was going down to Comet Ping Pong. And I met him down at Comet Ping Pong on a Monday morning. Just went there just to hold a sign outside, just to do a little protest. And lo and behold, James Alefantis came out to meet us. And I got invited inside. So that sort of propelled me a little bit into the Pizzagate movement. But now, taking my experience of holding the sign at my intersection, I now hold a Pizzagate, a Pedogate sign, basically just trying to wake people up, because calling the child sexual abuse, the child trafficking fake news, that's one thing. But the reality of the situation is people haven't even heard of it. People are not aware that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of independent researchers looking into this stuff. And so one of the best things that I can do, because I'm not a great researcher per se, is just to try and spread awareness. I'm doing it in Philadelphia. I've done some more things in Washington, D.C. And, basically I'll go anywhere. I'll go anywhere and, pretty much do anything just to, give people the opportunity to, make their own decisions about what's going on in the world.
It's interesting, Howie. I think that you were one of the first to recognize the necessity of getting offline. And to that end, I just want to toss into this dialogue.
We lost you a little bit, Al.
Are you with me?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you broke up a little bit.
I'm sorry. I'll try to not do that.
No, it's great right there.
But what I wanted to bring to the attention of anyone who can hear us is apparently researchers are descending on DC as we speak. Mm-hmm. Vote is still a relatively free platform, and apparently the renowned George Webb is there, along with Jason Goodman. Even former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney is said to be there. And their objective is to confront, I suppose, Mueller and get him to acknowledge the bombshell Kim.com teased us with for the last 36 hours. I don't want to derail the conversation, but to my mind, it's all intimately related.
Absolutely. And it certainly is, and that's what you'll find out. And I was only exposed to George just recently, but that guy is just right on the bullseye with everything that's coming out. And when you talk about child trafficking, we probably have some people that may have been exposed a little bit to it, maybe a little bit more. There's different levels of exposure, and but what you'll find is that it's more the large networks that are doing this are doing three things. They're trafficking children, they're trafficking organs, and they're trafficking drugs. And George, I haven't seen anybody put it together better than George Webb. And
do they have an organized? I'm sorry, John. Finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if they were actually trying to put together a rally per se, or they're.
I just stumbled across a vote post before we went on air. What I can say is that I hope that their aim is to create a rally. I mean, Cynthia McKinney is another unimpeachable character in this. You can see footage of her calling out Donald Rumsfeld on the Senate floor a decade ago, talking about DynCorp trafficking. DynCorp, a government contractor to this very day, contracting.
A must YouTube watch. Cynthia McKinney, DynCorp. Must watch.
And while you're on there, George Webb has about 40 to 50 episodes just about DynCorp. And that is a corporation that is in the center of this mess. And they're doing all of the above. They're trafficking children, they're trafficking drugs, and they're trafficking human organs. And he has just got that so nailed that if you're, and I had no idea till recently, but the amount of information that he has on DynCorp is tremendous, and people need to know about it.
Well, it's also worth mentioning that the crowdsourced nature of this investigation has taken on a life of its own, and it's so important that we have a figure like George Webb with a meticulous mind and a sort of fearless demeanor who's willing to conduct that orchestra, present the information. It would be a wonderful get if we could get him on here with us.
Oh, well, yes.
Has anybody made contact with him by chance?
I would be thrilled. No, not yet, but working on it. We've got a couple of things in the works to get some guests on this program to cover just those issues, and it is so important because you have to know, and we're going to get into some of this tonight with the finders. It gives you a look at the whole picture. People need to know that if we're going to take this apart, you have to know your enemy. And that's kind of what we're going to do tonight. And George has done it the best that I've ever seen. As far as it's my, after a lot of research, it's my opinion that he is working with somebody that has been in the intelligence community and seeing this stuff going on, because his information is just too good and too right on. But people need to understand that it's not, we're not going, not that. There are targets too, or the small individual lone wolf pedophiles. Yeah, they're getting arrested a dime a dozen if you pay attention to your television. And but they're the elite networks that are run by major multinational corporations and that are protected by intelligence agencies. That's what needs to come down. Until that comes down, we're just kind of not where we need to be. So I'm looking forward to all that, and that's what we're going to try to do here.
And my take on it is getting people to that level to understand a DynCorp type situation. It's a bit of a journey, and people aren't ready to get that all in one big bulk. So Absolutely. And my methodology more or less is to basically spread awareness, get people thinking about this. I mean, they know about certain cases, but they're not necessarily connecting the dots. They're thinking that, oh, well, everybody's looking into this. The FBI is doing their job. The police are always looking for this stuff, but not having really any idea of how big it is. And I'm not necessarily blaming them because you don't see it on television. You're talking about, these cases, that people are being arrested, in droves right now. But how many, when you turn on, mainstream media, how often do you see it?
Yeah, not at all. And the only time we're seeing it, but we're seeing it a lot. And I live in a pretty remote location, but our local news, you have some pedophile getting arrested just about daily, and that's good. Sure. That's great. Absolutely. But it's such, and it's going to take, and the one neat thing about this issue is that it transcends politics. It transcends everything. I mean, people are joining hands to fight this like nothing I've ever seen, and we're going to need every one of them.
Everybody.
Frightening. Everybody. What I find almost more frightening than the enormity of the actual enemy is the mass of indifference. I don't know how many people you've engaged with on Twitter, the troll army. I can only hope they're trolls, because if they're not trolls, what kind of people are they? I had a dialogue today with someone who said, if I assume all this is true, why make me care about something I can't do anything about?
Right.
And that was enough Twitter for the day at that point.
Sure.
So that wall of indifference is what I'm most concerned about.
Yeah, I mean the Twitter trolls, that's a different breed. I mean, you get all kinds of different types of trolls. Some of them seem to be more advanced, and I don't necessarily consider them trolls. they seem like something else to me. They're not some guy, just random guy, just, messing with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't worry about that too much. And we have a bigger problem. There's good, solid, upstanding people, whatever, however you want to call them. I call them Joe the Plumber. I'll just use the Sarah Palin thing. There's Joe the Plumber out there that, if they knew about this, they'd probably do something about it, and they'd probably, be proactive with it. But it's, I don't worry about the people. I don't worry about the naysayers. There's always going to be naysayers, and there's going to be people that don't care. But let's focus in on the ones that will care if they can just know about it and understand that there's an investigation going on, and there are citizens, working very hard to try and bring it to the light.
Yeah, and I think that's and that's what hopefully this show is going to function as, educational, and so people there's so many people that want to do something, and we're going to cover that tonight. Some very simple things that you can do to protect your children right now, and that locally, because we need to be working from the top down and from the bottom up. And that's, we're going to go over a few things tonight that you can do tomorrow. If it's like, Howie, you're out there participating, and Elle was mentioning that earlier. I mean, that is so, social media is great, but we're going to have to hit the bricks. We're going to have to get out in our communities. You're going to have to talk about very unpleasant things with your family, with your children, with, members of your church or synagogue or whatever. This is and hopefully, we're going to be fostering this and make it a little bit easier for people, because we have some links, that are in the Twitter feed, and those PDFs are right there.
What's our @ JT?
Our @ is @Traffic Report 1 on Twitter.
And that's traffic with a CK, right?
Yes, TRAFFICK. Let's see. Yeah, it's because you have to wonder about Twitter sometimes, because sometimes I can find this, and sometimes
I wonder about Twitter
buried
all the time.
You mean Jack on the board of Disney and the Saudi prince, such heroes for free speech? My goodness.
I think it's hilarious, though, when we turn things that are really just meant to surveil us into something that may take all that down, and I think that's what happens. But try it. It's capital T RAFFIC, capital REPORT, report, and 1. And it's like sometimes I search it with the small letters and I don't get it. So if you capitalize traffic and capitalize report, and that's traffic with a ICK and a 1, you should be able to find us. And we're live tweeting the show. We're on there. If you have any questions, just tweet it to that Twitter handle. There's going to be in the show notes on YouTube. The show will be posted to YouTube shortly after we do it, and in the description, you'll have 2 documents. One is the complete finder's report compiled by Ted Gunderson, a former FBI agent who's now deceased, but who did a lot of work in this field. And also what's going to be there, another one of my heroes, Jim Rothstein, has a local ordinance that any one of us can take to our city commission, our county commission, our town, whatever your local government is, and you can have that passed. And what it does is it calls for mandatory life sentences for anybody caught doing this, because one of the things that upset me the most is you see people, okay, they just possessed child porn, so they got 6 months. That's ridiculous. They're aiding and abetting the rape of children, okay, period. And if you're possessing that material, in my mind, that's you are an accessory to that crime, and it should be a life sentence. And if it was, you might have some of these people thinking twice. But that's what the ordinance is about. We'll talk a little bit about that later, I guess. But that'll all be in the show notes, and that's what we're trying to do too. Is give what can you do right now? Anybody can do to start to tear this abomination apart. So.
Yes, two points. One is I've searched at the Traffic Report 1 with caps in the logical place and without, and both time came up nothing. The second thing I wanted to ask is, could you guys double check that? The third thing I wanted to ask is, you used the phrase, something we can do tomorrow to make our children and communities safer. And is tomorrow actually National Missing Children's Day, that federal NCMEC holiday?
It absolutely.
Yes. Now
it absolutely
Wednesday,
is.
yes.
The 20. Well, it actually it's that day now.
So the 25th every year since the 80s, Reagan came up with this holiday, if I'm right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it until now.
And if you have the time, I think a great way to recognize that day would be to take that ordinance and go down to your city government and talk to some people about it. Because they're this is going to take action, personal action, by a lot of people. So that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, talking to our county commission about that ordinance. And I hope it's right there. It's right in it's in the show notes. It's in the Twitter feed. And to me, that would be something meaningful to do on Missing Children's Day, other than wearing one sock.
Right. I've seen that hash, rock one sock to remember the missing children. Doesn't it sometimes just feel like they're sneering at us? I find it offensive. Take off a sock?
Like, that's going to help the missing. That's going to help find missing children. It's very offensive, and it should be offensive to anyone who is missing a child. Has lost a child, is still missing a child.
It's like losing a sock. I mean, what the hell?
What does that have to do with anything in
Sure.
my mind? I mean, and they it's like all the other, and we're going to talk about this corruption and government and agencies but there are people that do really great work with the National Center. Okay, but when all you hear out of them is that really nonsensical Twitter campaign, why aren't they encouraging people to get out and get in their local communities and start to do something? What is
They actually discourage citizen investigation. I saw something on their website not long ago, or perhaps it was an interview. I don't want to misstate it, but basically if you look up NCMEC and how they feel about citizen investigation or citizen activism, they're anti.
Well, that's going to have to change.
I just checked their Twitter account, and they're still pushing the rock one sock. But on Saturday, I went onto their Twitter feed, and they were at I don't know exactly where they were at some brewery, I believe in Virginia.
Yes.
And then the hashtag was hops, either hop or hops for hope, and they're all standing around drinking beer, wearing a shirt. And I'm like, I'm like, come on! This is where the money goes. So you're sitting around drinking beer on a Saturday? Like, there's got to be a better way.
So it sounds like they haven't blocked you yet.
Just news flash. I just got a message, just so you guys know. The Twitter feed is working.
So that's a relief. I don't know why I can't find it.
Yeah, somebody tweeted and it said the show is great, and thank you for that. And the Twitter feed is working. So I'll shut up now. You guys were interrupt.
I was worried.
About a month ago, after the most people know we had a rally in in Washington. I forget the park's name, on March 25th, and someone who I went down there with, after the rally, we stood outside Common Ping Pong, holding my sign. You know, I never miss an opportunity to hold a sign. So if I'm in DC, I'm not just going to go to a rally. But she got on the National Center's website and was basically checking out their financials, and they received $32 million in federal funding.
They have a staff of 26 or so, right?
Yeah,
they work with a lot of volunteers. I don't know their exact staff, but she had put together a little presentation showing probably 70 to 75% of their revenue goes towards salaries, travel, a very small percent. Yeah, maybe having a couple beers, and I don't know if they were comped or whatever, but very, very little of the money actually went to programs. So that
actually do anything.
But I've called them. Yeah. I've called them several times. I make phone calls also, and they basically say, "Oh, we do everything. Everything's on the computer and da da da."
Yeah.
And
social media. I called down there myself because it seemed incredible to me that they wouldn't have one event in Washington D.C. where they're located, or the capital of our nation. You think they might have an hour or two event somewhere, but that was not to be. And the only event that they have is an awards ceremony, and that's not open to the public. And I just, I was just majorly disappointed with that. Oh. And my personal opinion, my personal opinion is if visibility is a key in this, and communication, and coming out with somebody wearing one sock on that day, I don't even know what that's communicating. And so I don't know. I think there's room for a lot of improvement.
There's a lot to say about NCMEC. You don't even have to be an investigator to be aware of, if you're paying any attention, that they block people from seeing their missing children alerts, their emergency alerts. In what world does that make sense?
No.
I mean, are either of you blocked, or is it just me?
No, I haven't been blocked yet. Probably after tonight.
I was blocked. I was blocked on my previous account. My newest account, which has only been up and running about 2 weeks, I'm still available. And I called to ask him about that also, but there was no one to speak to. No one would speak to me about why researchers are getting blocked from the National Center. The honeybee on Twitter did an entire
she's
video.
Brilliant.
She's brilliant, wonderful.
A badass, no doubt.
Yeah, she's
like you, El.
Like you, JT.
Okay.
I wanted to say one more thing about NCMEC, although we could obviously spend an entire show on this.
Sure.
Should we move on now?
No, we have a few minutes. I think we have a few minutes. We're right at almost a half hour.
All right. I just want to throw out these bones that I can't let go of personally to anyone who's listening.
You're muffled right now.
Dennis Hastert was Speaker of the House. Mm-hmm. Third in line to the presidency, okay? So if the VP and the president go down, Dennis Hastert would have been running the country, number one. He's a convicted pedophile. It was under Dennis Hastert, on his watch, that Representative Mark Foley, famous pedophile, actually forced the closure of the D.C. Teenage Page program because he was preying on those boys. One more dot. Rep. Mark Foley also repped NCMEC in Congress. In fact, he was on their board.
Really?
So when we talk about untouchable and well-connected, you don't even have to be that curious to see the dots.
Yeah. And I have a feeling in this there's some sort of wave of momentum building up around this issue, and I have a feeling when it catches fire, like it's going to catch fire, that all of these agencies, are not only the federal agencies but our state children protective agencies, are going to be under a big magnifying glass, and
yes.
they're going to have to and the people that they're supposed to serve and that pay their salary, us, are going to hold them to account. And I've never seen, I've been researching this for a long time, and I've never seen the buzz that's going on right now as far as really doing something, ending this for good. So we'll see.
I pray that you're right. I pray at every moment. But I have to piggyback on your remark that we pay their salary. It's dawned on me that, okay, they get a nice per diem and they get a nice base salary, something I'd be very happy to be earning. But what they do is they retire as millionaires. So that's not happening on a government employee's salary. We are not, in fact, paying them. They are, in fact, owned. How else do you explain, for example, the wealth of a Maxine Waters or even a James Comey?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, George Carlin used to say it's a big club and we're not in it.
We're not in it.
I used to have a T-shirt that was a Carlin shirt. It said, Simon says go fuck yourself. I mean, I got a kick out of it, but I didn't want to offend people, so it's been retired.
Now, we could really use a George Carlin right now.
Amen.
We could use a Bill Hicks right now. We could use a lot of people right now that just, somebody's got to step up. One of these, uber talented people has got to break away from the pack. And because, there's a huge market. There's a huge market.
Yeah. Wow.
So I wanted to say one more thing about the Nick Meck. When the Missing Girls DC was trending, LL Cool J, helped it out quite a bit by sending out, I believe, 1 tweet, 2 tweets. I think Eminem jumped in, but there was just another opportunity for them to, really push the issue, because there's something very, it's going on right in front of their faces, and it's sort of died down, and it's very difficult to get information. And when children go missing, we don't know if they came back or what the story is. With $32 million a year in government funding, there should be updates left and right. We should be able to find the information. We should be able to get statistics very easily, and statistics are not easy to come by. We're putting together, some friends and I were putting together a brochure that people can pass out to help spread awareness and to go around and get the number of missing. Where am I going to go? Where's that number? Where's the answer to the number of children that are missing, that are continue to be missing, that are gone for a month, that have come home? It's very difficult to get those statistics, and it's very frustrating. And it's another thing that the statistics are super important, especially for someone like, to me. I'm a layman.
Well, in terms of deception, I don't know if either of you watch basic cable, but I do. And Nick Mick runs commercials. Amber Alert / Nick Mick run commercials, and 8 times out of 10, it'll be for kids who were snatched decades, literally, ago.
Yes. And along that same line, we just had one of our listeners on the Twitter feed talking about Google, how Google says they do so much for combat child porn, and but all their policies defer to Nick Mick. So that's I don't know about you. But I don't trust Google at all. So they seem to be complicit in a lot of things that.
Well, for any ex-burners out there, if you're not aware of Eric Schmidt / Alphabet / Google running a secret project called The Groundwork for Hillary, you haven't done your homework.
That makes me feel really bad, Helen.
You've been on the streets, Howie. You get a pass.
Yeah, I know. I've been busy. You didn't tell me there was going to be a quiz.
I could talk about the tech monstrosity that helped propel Hillary to the nomination, probably for a few hours in a row. So I'll spare you. But Schmidtism. Schmidt is deep state for real.
That's a pretty good segue there, or coming up on a segue, because we're going to see how these entities, may very well be highly contributory to what's going on with these networks and how they target and snatch children. And the case we're going to talk about tonight, you're going to be seeing 1987 technology, and you don't need a whole lot of imagination to come up with where this has gone since 1987 to present day. And social media is being used to target our children.
Okay, you want to get started on that, John? I just had one more thing I want to say.
Sure.
Because Elle brought up Bernie, and just one thing I want to say. Most people who are listening would know that a researcher, Thomas Bernpain, has gone dark on both Twitter and since April 26th, which would be very. It's beyond unusual. It just wouldn't happen. People are looking into it. And I just want to send, out there. I just want to send my thoughts. And I'm not a prayer per se, but in this situation, I am praying, and I can't wait to hear from Thomas again. I'll just leave it at that. She's a very, very important person in my life. So.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have news or a resurfacing with another account or something soon. I'm aware of this person's absence as well, Howie. It is disturbing.
Me too. Okay. And we've got to watch our backs. I mean, all of us. I mean, this is, serious business. And it is a business. There are the raping of our children is a business to these people. So we need to, all be very careful.
Well, I guess on that happy note, John can get into the finders, and hopefully I'd like to, I'm going to learn a little something tonight along with everybody else. So.
All right, and I just posted on our the Traffic Report site. If you want to follow along with us, it'll be pages 10 to 19. It's a 70-page report. I encourage you to hit the link, download it to your computer, share it with your friends. It's probably the best documented case of a major elite pedophile network that in the history of the nation, and we're gonna see how it was discovered, how honest, good federal agents began to pursue that case, and at that time, the Washington Metropolitan Police were pursuing it, and we're going to see how the intelligence agencies, namely the CIA, just shut that down with one phone call. But it's very informative, and you're going to need this. I mean, if you're talking to people, that some of this is so, and I'll warn you just before we even get into it, you'll probably hear a few things in this report, and this is a report that a Treasury agent wrote and documented very well. And some of the stuff you're going to hear in there, you're going to go like, God, could that really exist? And I assure you it does. So this is a great piece of information. Please download the file if you're going to be talking to your family, your kids, your church, your local representatives. It's a perfect case that's 100% legitimate, documented by federal agents. And that's not something you can say too often about a lot of these cases. So I just posted that, and you can follow along with us. I'm going to do that myself, but just to give you this basically started out in February of 1987 when two adult males were called in by a passerby in broad daylight in Tallahassee. They were in a park with 6 children, and these children looked so bad, so malnourished, so dirty, so inappropriately clothed that even in 1987, when there wasn't too much awareness, somebody had seen enough and called the police in, and they arrested these 2 men. They took and this is how, I want you to see how well these networks are organized. One of the guys had a business card that he just whipped out of his pocket, gave it to the police officer that arrested him, and it said that he understood his constitutional rights and he was not going to make a statement. So these guys, other than, being stupid to do it in broad daylight, or maybe, and a lot of these networks now, they just have so much hubris, and even our elected officials and people that are involved in it, they think that, people are just so brainwashed that they can do and say whatever they want, and nothing's going to happen. But without a bystander, without the proper actions of the Tallahassee police, this might have never been uncovered. So that's how it started. And I'm going to read some of this report to you, pieces of it. And so this was the first contact, and the first, just trying to see what page this is on. I believe it's page. Well, it starts on page 8 with a story that ran on UPI about the incident, how the children were found in Tallahassee, and I'm just going to go right into the first official report that was made by the Treasury Department. Okay, it says this office was contacted by the Tallahassee Police Department on February 5th, 1987, who requested assistance in attempting to identify 2 adult males and 6 minor children, all taken into custody the previous day. The men arrested and charged with multiple counts of child abuse were being very evasive with police in the questioning, and asked of them pursuant to the children and their condition. Special Agent Harold, resident agent in Reston, Virginia, requested telephone numbers and names of police persons and area police departments in an attempt to follow up on 2 leads, which were a Virginia license number that the children had commented, and the children had also commented about living in Washington, D.C. commune. Subsequently, this office received a telephone call from the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police inquiring about the men and the children. This office put the MPD and the TPD in contact with each other, all proper actions to be taken by a federal agency. And other cases we talk about, like the Franklin case, relatively soon you see federal agents, the FBI by name, going in to do exactly the opposite of what these Treasury agents did. And so the DC police had already opened up a case on some of these people. And I'll just continue with, this is page 10, details of the investigation. Let's see here. I might skip a little bit through this. Okay. That goes through the arrest, which I basically already told you about. And this is, we were talking about, Howie and I was talking about this case earlier, and just coincidentally, these warehouses that this organization, Cult, the Finders, had are in the same neighborhood as Comet Ping Pong. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but so you can see the reports and you can go through them. The next couple of pages are basically telling you what I already told you, but they were taking it very seriously. They were documenting it very well, and it gets to the point. And this is the one I want to read, and what I would love everybody to read, because it's so detailed. And it gives you the anatomy of this network, just what they were capable of, what they were doing, and how you need to realize in this day and age, this network is still operating, but they have much greater tools as far as social media. Okay, let's see.
What page are you going to start on, John?
I think that is page 11 or 12, but let's see, it's actually page 13. Okay.
13. Okay.
I
got you.
Some of that. Let's see.
Resident agent in charge.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one. Okay. So, I'm just trying to edit a little bit here. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So this is upon being taken into custody, adult white males refused to cooperate. One of them whom produced a business card with the name on one side and a statement on the other. The statement indicated that the bearer knew his constitutional rights to remain silent. They intended to do so. Upon interviewing the children, the police officers found that they could not adequately identify themselves or their custodians. Further, they stated they were en route to Mexico to attend a school for smart kids. Agent Creetlow was further advised the children were unaware of the function and purpose of telephones, televisions, and toilets, and that the children had stated they were not allowed to live indoors and were only given food as a reward. And I don't know about you, but I just get beyond exasperated even reading this, because, I mean, right there that these children were being bred for this trafficking. I mean, to not know, what a telephone is or a television, or obviously they weren't being schooled, and obviously they were being kept outdoors, and the kids are telling the police this. Just unbelievable.
John,
Okay.
can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
If there was any television coverage on this case whatsoever?
That I don't know, and I doubt it. Back in the 80s, I doubt it.
No, okay. Just interesting. Not even a local. I'm gonna hit YouTube while you're talking and just see if there's anything.
Okay. Let's see. All right. And Customs got involved. They thought it was going to be an open and shut case, but once they started to learn, what Tallahassee police found, computer equipment, discs in this van, and it was pretty apparent to them that at least child pornography was involved. And at the time, Customs was the only federal agency that had a special dedicated unit towards child pornography, and that's kind of how they got them. They reached out to them. Let's see here. Okay, now here we move on to this is talking about the DC Metro Police. And I'll just go on reading. They're interested in the information provided by Special Agent Creetlow. He was in contact with Tallahassee and would very probably be conducting search warrants in the area later that day. He also informed me that U.S. Customs was invited to participate due to the continuing possibility of violations of law enforced by the Customs Service, namely child pornography or transporting children across borders. As I was already in Washington, I terminated my other business and proceeded to make contact with Detective Bradley, Intelligence Division of Washington Metro PD. They had a case going already, and the Washington detective tells the Treasury agent that they had initiated an investigation of 2 addresses provided by the Tallahassee Police Department. During December of 1986, an informant had given him information regarding a cult known as the Finders, operating various businesses out of a warehouse located at 1307 4th Street Northeast, and were supposed to be housing children at 3918 West Street Northwest. The information was specific in describing, okay, here we go, folks, listen to this. And this is a Treasury agent who's being told this by a Washington Metro Intelligence Division police officer. The information was specific in describing blood rituals and sexual orgies involving children and as yet unsolved murder in which the Finders may be involved. With the information provided by the informant, Detective Bradley was able to match some of the children in Tallahassee with names of the children alleged to be in custody of the Finders. Furthermore, Bradley was able to match the tentative IDs of the adults with known members of the Finders. So they have these guys. They know who they are. They know what they're operating, and their informant is telling them that they're involved in blood rituals and orgies with the children and murder. Okay, so they've got a pretty big investigation going here, and they know a lot of these guys are doing the right thing. They're trying to shut it down. So they go out on this. Go ahead, Howie.
No, I was just going to say that the little that I know about these rituals, the cases that I've seen, it seems to be a common thread throughout them. These blood rituals, sacrificing animals, and so on. So it seems consistent with what was found in the Finders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were talking about this earlier. You find people from different walks of life who don't even know one another. Kendall, that just came up on Dr. Phil, describing the same rituals, the same MO, and
Sure.
because you'll see what happens. What happens is the CIA shuts this investigation down.
Sure.
They're still operating in one form or another. That is the network that has to come down. When
Right.
that comes
But
down, and Cynthia McKinney said it,
right.
the Democrat and Republican Party will fail. And that's okay by me. We can start over. We'll survive. Especially if
but
they're.
even
Go ahead, Howie.
even on a personal level, I know people that have been through these rituals. It's just, I never thought that I would speak to somebody that, would be telling me these stories, but I mean, I've heard it from people that I trust 100%. It's just unbelievable to me, this awakening.
Yeah, we are not made of the same stuff, and I know our time is kind of winding down here, so I'm gonna accelerate this a little bit, and
We have about 8 minutes.
yeah, I'll probably take another 2 or 3 to get through this, but and I encourage everybody, and still we're gonna put the link out there. Probably won't be the last time we're talking about this, but I'll just move on in the report. This is what they're finding at this warehouse. Large quantities of children's clothing and toys. The clothing consisted of diapers and clothes in the toddler to preschool range. No children were found on the premises. There were several subjects, however, and they identified one guy. He's taking care of the computer end of the business here. And they're looking at documents that are just left laying around at this in the office in the warehouse. The instructions included impregnation of female members of the community known as finders, purchasing children, trading, and kidnapping. Okay, there's telex messages using an MCI account numbers between a computer terminal believed to be located in the same room, the others located across the country and in foreign locations. Okay, this is the Walmart of child trafficking. Okay, as soon as those kids were arrested in Tallahassee, these people knew it. They sent out messages by telex as far as Hong Kong to lay low and until the heat passed over, because they knew that they were protected, but they didn't want to have somebody else arrested. So just we're talking about, we go through this terrorism, explosions, or excuse me, explosives. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here's what they tell the other members of the network across the nation and the world. Sets of instructions which appeared to be broadcast via computer network, which advised participants to move the children and keep them moving through different jurisdictions, and instructions on how to avoid police attention. Okay, and there's more of it that it just goes on like that. But the point is the sophistication and the targeting, and they're still doing that. Okay, they're using social media to target your children. Okay, they have notebooks of pictures of kids that they've gotten on social media, and they target these freaks, target that child, and they will kidnap your child. So that's what people need to know and realize. These are sophisticated criminal organizations. Their object is to harm your children. So we need to be, if I was a parent right now, I wouldn't let my kids out of my sight. Anybody that they came in contact with, I'd run a background check on. And this is not the time for you to be relaxing, because they're going to operate, and they're snatching children got snatched tonight. Okay, so that's the point I'm making. Please read all of this. It just gives you an idea of how vast and ingrained in the society that this is. And believe me, since 1987, it's only gotten worse. And I'll just finish out right here. This is the conclusion of what happened to this. So you've got all these guys working, they're documenting this, they're going to arrest these guys. So they talk to let me see. Okay, this is the paragraph, and you'll just find it's underlined. The individual further advised me of circumstances which indicated the investigation into the activity of the finders had become a CIA internal matter. The Metropolitan Police report has been classified secret and was not available for review. I was advised that the FBI had withdrawn from the investigation several weeks prior, and that the FBI Foreign Counterintelligence Division had directed Metropolitan PD not to advise the FBI Washington field office of anything that had transpired. Okay, so with a couple of phone calls, they shut this entire investigation down. You've got one section of that's why, we make this point that these are rogue elements within the FBI, but you've got one element of the FBI telling the Metro Police not to tell the other element. So that's still going on, and we'll talk about that more on future shows. These networks are protected and have grown out of our intelligence agencies, okay? And it's not the entire CIA, it's not the entire FBI, but there are rogue elements in these agencies that are using this and that protect this network for their own purposes, and the purpose is blackmail, okay, of our elected officials, of our judges, police officers. So that's what's going on. So that's basically the finders in a nutshell, and just get that out. Get that out as far as you can get it. Let people read it, because I don't think anybody can read through that and not realize what a problem this is, how invasive and insidious that it is, and how now it's probably 1,000 times more sophisticated than it was.
That's without the internet. That's without the internet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
JT, can you point once more at the legislation that Mr. Rothstein has developed that you're suggesting that we all...
Yes. I will actually post that link again in the Twitter line, but what it is, it's a PDF file of a resolution. It's an anti-trafficking ordinance that calls for 25 years to life anybody involved in this, and this is from possessing child pornography to actively, participating in a, one of the networks. I mean, and that's how it should be. You cannot. People that purchase and own this are probably offending in one way or another, and they're participating in the rape of children by owning this material. That's what's going on. It's not like you've got some pornographic pictures on your laptop. You are participating in the rape of a child, owning that, and it needs to be treated as such. And it just goes through. I'll post that link. It's a resolution on human trafficking.
Yeah, we can hit, and we'll talk about it again on Thursday. We just probably want to.
Yes.
We're just coming up against it right now, so
yeah.
I think that's what they say in radio, right? You're coming up against it.
I just want to interject for any autists or researchers listening that when this report was written, which was February 1987, there was in fact no acting CIA chief. But William Joseph Casey's tenure had ended January 29th of that year. He was a Reagan appointee. And William Hitchcock Webster started in May of that year, another Reagan appointee. These are probably names worth looking into.
Yes, and we'll follow this through an evolution from Franklin all the way up to almost present day. And William Casey, funny you should mention him, was using the services of the prostitution ring that was running in Washington. Henry Vinson was involved in that and has written a great book called Confessions of a DC Madam. So yeah, they were involved to the highest echelon.
Well, I guess we can pick it up. Yeah. Well, we'll pick it up on. We'll be back. We'll be back Thursday, right?
Yeah.
We'll be back in 2 days.
I guess we'll just say good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks
for tuning in.